Good morning, Year 10. I'm going to talk to you about the 9 marker that I've set for today. It shouldn't take very long really because it's, I hope, pretty easy to do, but I think what this one will lead to is a little bit of overthinking and you really don't have to do that. So if we look at the slide, the question is, explain why the work of Edwin Chadwick was important in the improvement of public health in the 19th and 20th centuries. So I've got the slide here in front of us. And I'm going to start here with the content. Usually here I put a question for you all to answer in your head so that you can do the answer. But this time instead I've decided to actually give you the information from which I want you to work from. So hopefully you're aware from the information in slide 2 that Chadwick believed it was ill health and not idleness that made people poor. In case you're not aware, you should be though, but idleness means laziness. So he believed that it wasn't the fact that people were lazy that they were poor, which was this like really held belief at the time, but actually the fact that they were ill means that they weren't able to work, they were less likely to be able to support their families, and therefore that would create a cycle of poverty. Under him, he developed the Clean Party, or he was a very important part of the Clean Party, and there was the creation of the Health of Towns Association in 1844, thanks to him and thanks to what he did. Lastly, I put down is that the Clean Party had an impact on public health reforms alongside the cholera epidemic. So those of you who are aiming higher, and that should really be the majority of you, could potentially in this answer not just talk about Chadwick, but talk about how he is only one part of the improvements of the 19th and 20th century. Obviously, you know it's a Peel paragraph, so really I want 2 paragraphs, and if you do 2 in good detail, that should be more than enough to get you 9 marks, because it's not kind of 4 marks paragraph, it's more the detail, the depth you go into and the understanding you show of the time period you're talking about. The time period is the 19th and the 20th centuries. We're talking the 18 and the 1900s. So really I'm talking about what we looked at in this slide and what is kind of looked at in this slide, and how this and Chadwick's ideas led to this and eventually this. Yeah, so we're talking about how Chadwick is kind of the beginning of all of these things. So sentence starters, here is your Peel paragraph. I've changed these slightly from what we've used before, just to kind of give it way more of an open end for you all to kind of interpret it how you like. So one idea that Edwin Chadwick had which helped improve public health was, and now what I want you to do is think, what did he do, or what was his thoughts? Already I've told you this. One idea Edwin Chadwick had which helped to improve public health was Chadwick believed it was ill health and not idleness that made people poor. Almost like insert that here. This means, and now I've already explained it to you, so I would like you to put that into words that is understandable. This means that Chadwick was arguing the belief that poor people were poor because they were lazy, and instead said it was their poverty and their sickness, it was their poor living conditions and their sickness which made them poor in the first place. So that's, I would argue, easy, because really all you're doing is explaining this. What you need to do and where you'll get marks is that this resulted in. What does his idea lean towards? What does it create? So you could say this resulted in, you need to link it, to the improvement of public health. So this resulted in the development of the Clean Party, and explain to me what that is. So it's a group of people who believe that it's the government's job to sort out towns and cities to make them cleaner. And then I'll obviously go into more detail there. I'm not going to do that for you. And then this work was, and then you have to think about it. Is this particularly challenging and changing to the society and what people believe? And the answer is yes. So actually, his work was quite important, or very important, for the improvement of public health, because he took an idea that people had really just thought was facts, that poor people were poor because they were lazy, and flipped it on his head. But not only that, started creating a movement towards cleaner towns. Okay, so I've talked around that first paragraph, but hopefully that should be quite easy to do. The next one, another thing that Edwin Chadwick did or believed was, so I've given this both sides because you could do either one. You could do something he actually did, so we're talking here, or you could say believed. You could actually link to what you've already said if you're talking about believed. But another thing that Edwin Chadwick did, was help to create the Health of Towns Association in 1844. This means, or this was, tell me what it was. So basically, it's a association that is trying to improve town cleanliness. Like I'm showing you, the PE is actually very easy because you're telling me a thing and you're explaining that thing. Yeah, giving me evidence, giving me points, whatever. This resulted in, now that results in actual government work that is attempting to improve the lives of people. So mention that. Yeah, the creation of this does what? Remember that we've got information here. Have a look here to see what that means, basically, and put it into your answer. This resulted in. Again, this work was, and then tell me how important it was for the improvement of public health. Don't just tell me how important he was, tell me how important his ideas were or his actions were to improve public health. But I think one maybe last thing you should throw in at the end of one of your paragraphs is that he was one person and he showed the importance of one person's beliefs on the improvement of public health. However, there were other factors also involved that impacted into the 20th century, such as, and if we look at the slide here, such as, the cholera epidemic of 1848, and then going on forward into the Public Health Act. So I would almost say he's just the beginning, and it is what goes into the future. I didn't want to make that video too long because it's actually not that confusing a question if you just really break it down to something really small. This man thought this is what he did, this is what it impacted in, it is successful because. And I think if you can do that, and you can do that well, showing that perhaps this was a new idea or perhaps it led to some big changes, that's enough to get you 9 marks. Yeah, do that twice, do it fluently, and there's nothing to say you can't. So I hope to see some really good answers. If you've got any questions, don't think that this is the only thing you can do, send me a message on Google Classroom and I'll try to help out as much as possible. I'd really much rather you attempted it and you looked at these things and you asked me questions than you didn't try at all. And all I've got on your record is that you've got a 0 out of 9, especially because we're probably going to be looking at a lot of evidence over the next year in case things don't go back to normal as quickly as we would like. So just to be aware of that, and please do give it a go. Hopefully I'll see some of you really soon, and if not, I hope you're keeping really well and safe at this time.